Hey everybody, I'm Jonas Friedman, music composer and producer, and I'm here today with Emergence Audio. I'm going to walk you through their new sample library, Flute Textures. This is the latest release from their texture series, which includes really gorgeous virtual instruments covering strings, vocals, piano, and woodwinds. For anyone who's not yet familiar with this line of instruments, they're not your traditional take on the orchestra, but instead a really beautiful blend of unique playing styles and sound design that allow you to create something completely different from traditional sources. I personally use a number of these libraries for sound design, pads, and basically anytime I want to compose a piece that has an organic foundation, but I don't want it to sound as traditional as legato strings or woodwinds may sound. This latest release really inspires me to create something a little more out of the box and emotional. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the instrument's presets and multis to give you a well-rounded idea of what it sounds like and how it can be used as an additional color in your toolkit. Let's dive in. If you're familiar with Emergence Audio's other libraries, you're going to feel right at home with Flute Textures interface, but if not, we have additional videos that dive into all the features in detail. Right now, I'm going to dive into the sequencer and give you a super brief run through. So, as you can see here, with these textures libraries, you're going to have two textures, one on the left and one on the right. As you can see, you have all these different options. And this knob in the middle, it can be controlled by the mod wheel, but also it can be assigned to an LFO. It's going to kind of rock back and forth, and it's going to sort of balance between those two tones of those different textures. In addition, you've got panning settings, you've got filter settings, and then of course there's an entire effects page over here where you can add reverb, delay, width, chorus, rotators, distortion, phasers, and tons of cool stuff to further manipulate the sound and make it something truly unique to yourself. If you go over here, you're going to see these different snapshots, and inside there's a bunch of different folders. There's alternates, correlated, experiments, infinity drones, infinity pads, pulses, and swells. As you can see in each of these folders, there's just so many presets and so many things to go through. So I'm just going to start pulling out some of my favorites. When you load the library, let's just listen to what happens when you first load it up. This is how it's going to sound. So you can hear that out of the box, it's got this really beautiful tonality, and what is happening is you have these two different very long textures that are playing, and they're sort of balancing between one another. Let's go through this first alternates folder and see what else we can find. I'm going to go over here to grace notes. So that's really cool. It's got sort of like a Hitchcock tone to it. And what you're going to hear as we go through these folders, things are going to slowly start to get a little more experimental, a little more pad-like, and a little bit more obscure, which I find really exciting. So in this first folder, you're going to find things that are a little more natural and traditional. And as we go down the list, it's going to become a lot more unique in terms of what the sound is like. So let's keep going down here. Let's go on to another preset from the alternates folder. This one's called Vocalize. Let's keep exploring this alternates folder. This is how everything is just sounding out of the box. It's really pretty inspiring. This is one that is one of my favorites. It's called Multiphonics. So that's really cool. It's got like a very psychological tone to it. There's so many uses that I can think of when scoring with this for like a film or television series. Let's keep going. I'm going to try this other preset in the alternate section, and it's called Slow Vibrato Pulse. So that's really cool, and it's a great example of how these textures sort of work together. You can hear that sort of pulse and swell that's happening at different times with each note, and it creates a really beautiful texture, and that's really what the sort of more organic section of this library is all about. So we're going to go into the correlated folder now, which for me is really exciting because you're going to hear the sounds sort of twist a little bit, become a little bit more non-traditional. So check out this patch. It's called Flutter 3. This is what it sounds like. So that sounds really nice. I think it's really cool that we're kind of starting to take that sound design knob and just crank it up a little bit. The next one in here that I really love, whole steps correlated. So just like we heard with some of those other patches, it's really cool when those different phrases from the two textures are playing at different times. It gives you a nice stereo spread, and also it just makes something that's a little bit more interesting. Another preset that I really love from this correlated section is right here, again, Multiphonics. It creates, again, this very dissonant sort of Hitchcock atmosphere, something that has a very classical nature to it. I actually remember working on a show not too long ago where a patch like that would have come in really handy because it gives you this sort of sense of maniacal disorientation, which I really like. Moving along here, this is another really cool one, which is staccato hits from the flutes. And listen to what happens when you play multiple notes and they all sort of combine together. It's really giving you these awesome textures that you can sort of blend into a composition. When I think of a library like this, the first word that comes to mind that it gives me just more options that are out of the box, less traditional, but are going to be really interesting to create a scene for the listeners. The next folder we're going to go to now is the presets from Experiments. And as you can see, there's still a long list of stuff. I'm just sampling a couple of my favorites from here, but there's so many amazing good patches. And this first one, Astral Journey, is just really exciting. Check it out. As you can hear, that's just a really cool patch. If you were to throw on a really big reverb, I think that that's going to make something that's really ethereal, really, really cool. So now let's keep going in this experimental section here. Let's check out this next patch, which is Celestial Veil. I just love how when you hold it out, you can hear how the sound evolves and the way that the two textures bounce off each other. It's really nice. This one's called Corrupted Signal. Let's check it out. So that should give you an idea of the range of this library, what we were hearing in the alternate section, in the correlated section, and now in this experiment section, there's just some really wild stuff. It couldn't sound further from being a flute, but that's the original source material, and it's really, really cool. I just love stuff like that for sound design. So let's pull up the next one. This is called Vintage Winds, and it's again from the experiment section. There's a lot of great uses for that if you're, again, looking to make something a little more out of the box. So moving right along here, we still have so many categories to go through. It just gives you an idea of how much is included in the library. So the next thing I'm going to check out here are the infinite drones, and this is a really cool patch called Ambient Morph. That's really gorgeous. Let's check out another one from this infinite drone section here. This is Ancient Passage. So let's check out this one now, Into Existence. Cool, it's got this really angelic sort of beautiful vibe to it. Let's keep going. Let's check out another one here. This is called Misplaced. Awesome. This next one I really love from the Infinite Drone section. This is called Departed. That's like the ultimate feedback patch. That's really cool. All right, next up, we're going to go from the Infinity Drones to the Infinity Pad section, and these are really cool as well. Let's just bring up this first one here, A Walk in the Park. I really love how those sort of swells kind of keep happening at different times. It really just makes it more interesting as the patch unfolds. Let's keep going here. Aurora Bloom. Awesome, that's really cool. Let's check out this one, Beautiful Morning. Cool, some really like interesting detuning things happening there. All right, Moonlight Breeze. Gorgeous. So the next section that we're going to check out here are the pulses. There's just so many things in this library. Here's the first one that comes up is Celestial Ascent. All right, Disoriented Pulse. Definitely makes you feel like you've been in a house of mirrors a little bit. That's pretty cool. Let's check out this next one here, Moonlight Breeze. Cool, so those are some examples of the pulses. Let's take a look at the swells now. This is the final folder here with just tons of presets, and we're just gonna, again, pick up a bunch to give you an idea of what they sound like, but there's so many more sounds here to discover. Check out Fast Vibrato Swell. Awesome. This is now the Multiphonics swell, so I'm sure we're going to have something just really, really cool here in dissonant. Let's check out this next one, Slow Vibrato Pulse 3. Really nice. You can do just so much with that if you play it up here in the higher register too. Let's check out one more from here. I love these vocalized patches. Let's see what this one sounds like. Very cool. So those are some examples of the swells. I think that they have this really emotional quality to them. Again, if you were to combine that with a really big reverb, I think it sounds just phenomenal. It sounds great out of the box, but that's just something that you can do with like a long reverb tail or some delay that you can crank up even in the instruments effects section. I just wanted to show you how things sounded out of the box though without adding like my own sounds to it. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull up these multis. Basically, if you're not familiar with multis, it's like having multiple of these patches stacked on top of each other so you can further manipulate the sound and get sort of some really, really cool tones. There's a lot to work with here. I'm just going to pull out a few of my favorites. This first one is called Discovery Beyond Measure. Let's see what this sounds like. So you can hear that that's really cool. Again, all I'm doing is I'm just holding out a C minor chord there and then letting the patch do its thing, and it just sounds gorgeous. It's got this really, really cool evolving atmosphere that the longer you hold it out, the more you get to see what those textures sort of reveal as it plays through. So it's really, really cool. Let's check out this next one. This one's called Everything Must Sleep. Really, really cool. I think that these multis have some really interesting sound design, stuff that's really sort of dark and ominous in there. Let's do one more before we wrap it up for the multis. This one's really cool. It's called Wait For It, and this will be the last one that we check out here. So that's just really cool. Obviously, that's not what you think of when you think of a traditional flute, but that's what this library does. It just has so many cool textures and layers. And what I really love about this instrument is that it takes everything woodwinds represent, and then it sort of allows you to perform with those textures and sounds in a much more modern and creative way than traditional woodwind patches enable you to do. That last multi is a really perfect example of that. I'm sure that you heard as we were playing through this instrument, not just with that last patch, but the whole thing. It's just so vast in terms of what it's capable of and how moldable it is to different types of styles and scores and genres. I thank Emergence Audio for asking me to do this walkthrough for you. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Emergence Audio's YouTube channel so you don't miss any of their upcoming releases. And as always, I hope this was helpful.